The San Diego County Water Authority would like to thank you for taking time to be in attendance tonight. My name is Alyssa Muto from Recon Environmental, the Water Authority's environmental consultant for this project. I am the Recon Project Manager for Nob Hill Pipeline Improvements Environmental Impact Report, or EIR. Before we dive into the details of the proposed project, I would like to provide you with a brief overview of this presentation and the Water Authority. First, we'll provide an overview of the Water Authority and its mission. Then, we'll present the background and purpose of the proposed Nob Hill Pipeline Improvements Project. Finally, we'll talk about the environmental review process, the scoping meeting, and how you can provide us with your input. To begin, let's talk about the Water Authority and what they do. The Water Authority is a public agency serving the San Diego region as a wholesale supplier of water. The Water Authority's mission is to provide a safe and reliable water supply for the region's 3.1 million residents. Ensuring reliability now and into the future means investigating new sources of water and projects that reduce the region's vulnerability to shortages from any one source. The Water Authority uses careful planning to build and operate their infrastructure in a cost-effective manner and as an integrated system. I'd like to briefly detail the Water Authority's Aqueduct System in the project vicinity. The Water Authority's aqueduct was built to move water from north to south. This slide shows an aerial view of the Scripps Ranch community and a portion of the aqueduct system. The blue lines on the photo represent the location of aqueduct pipelines in the project area. Over the past 5 years, the aqueduct system expanded with the completion of 2 key facilities. First, the Rancho Penasquitos Pressure Control and Hydroelectric Facility. The location of this facility is represented by a yellow dot on the map. Second, the San Vicente Pipeline and Pumping Facility System. These improvements are represented by the horizontal blue line that goes off the right side of the slide. The expanded system can now move water east and west in addition to north to south. The Water Authority then used a computer model to analyze and determine how the aqueduct system would react under different operating conditions with these improvements. The analysis identified Nob Hill as a vulnerable spot. Nob Hill is shown on this slide and is downstream of the connection with the San Vicente pipeline. The vulnerable spot identified for Nob Hill is the air release valve structure shown in the photo included on this slide. Under certain operating conditions, the computer modeling predicted a condition that could occur that would destroy the float in the air release valve, leading to an uncontrolled release of water. The Water Authority has 3 pipelines within its easement in Nob Hill. If segments of some of these pipelines are lowered to a certain elevation, the underlying condition that could damage the air release float would not happen. The proposed Nob Hill Pipeline Improvements Project involves 2 primary components. The first is the replacement and realignment of approximately 800 feet of segments of the aqueduct pipelines in the area between Scripps Nob Hill and the Miro Revelle communities. The second component is the construction of a permanent access road from Scripps Lake Drive northward along the Water Authority right-of-way west of the Miramar Reservoir Dam. 2 construction techniques, open trench and tunneling, have been proposed for the installation of replacement pipeline and will be analyzed to understand the potential effects of each technique on the environment and the public. It should be noted that the open trench technique would be required in portions of the project site, even if the tunneling method is ultimately selected as the primary construction technique for the project. Controlled detonation will be necessary for both of the construction techniques due to the existing geologic formations within the project area. A permanent access road from Scripps Lake Drive is also proposed approximately 600 feet east of the Scripps Ranch Boulevard intersection. The access road would be used for both construction and future aqueduct maintenance. As illustrated in the slide, the access road would extend north to the construction site, and another segment would also extend to the east to allow access to existing aqueduct air release structures near Scripps Lake Drive. The alignment for the road depicted on this exhibit is an approximate location. A more precise alignment will be presented and analyzed based on further biological and engineering information that will be obtained from a technical analysis that has not yet been conducted. Now that we have some background on the project, I would like to explain the environmental review process and the analysis conducted under CEQA. CEQA stands for the California Environmental Quality Act. The main purpose of CEQA is to provide information. It is an objective process to disclose and minimize environmental damage. CEQA requires certain procedural steps to objectively identify any physical impacts on the environment and communicate the analysis and results to the public and any decision-making authority. Once a project is defined, the lead agency, in this case the Water Authority, scopes the project to determine what the likely physical impacts of the project will be, and, in turn, what type of document they will prepare. The Water Authority has determined that the Nob Hill Pipeline Improvements Project has the potential to significantly affect the environment, thus an Environmental Impact Report, or EIR, is being prepared. An EIR is the document that presents the information gathered and the analysis as to the potential environmental effects of a project. Again, the main purpose of CEQA and the EIR is to objectively inform the public and its responsible officials of the environmental consequences or environmental impacts before they are made. Environmental impacts are any changes to the physical environment. Examples may include biological impacts or noise impacts. Mitigation is a word we use to describe any measures that are required to reduce or avoid those impacts. The EIR will explain in detail the proposed project, the environmental setting, probable impacts on the environment, feasible measures to reduce or avoid those impacts, cumulative impacts, and alternatives to the proposed project. Here is an overall look at the CEQA process. This slide may be a bit difficult to read on the screen, but we've made handouts of this slide available for you. There are several opportunities within the CEQA and EIR process for input from interested government agencies and the public. As I go through the slide, I will point out the key times in the process where your input is most valuable and effective. These times are also identified on the slide by the icon of people looking at project plans in the left margin. To kick off the environmental process, we mailed out a Notice of Preparation, or NOP, for the draft EIR on April 12th, outlining the potential areas of impacts requiring further detailed analysis within the EIR. This is the first opportunity for public input tonight at the public scoping meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to receive written comments on the scope and content of environmental issues analyzed within the EIR, which I'll talk more about in the next slide. The scoping period will close on May 13th, at which time all comments should have been received for review by the Water Authority and their environmental consultant. The draft EIR will then be prepared and detailed technical analysis will be completed. Once the draft EIR is written, it will be released for a 45-day public review period, offering yet another opportunity for public and agency input. Copies of the draft EIR will be available on the web and at the Water Authority, as well as here at the Scripps Ranch Public Library. During that period, the Water Authority will receive written comments on the adequacy of the draft EIR and will hold a public hearing at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Water Authority Board of Directors to receive verbal comments. Once the comment period closes on the draft EIR, which is anticipated to be January 2014, we will formulate responses to all comments received and incorporate them into a final EIR. When the final EIR has been prepared, the Water Authority Board of Directors will consider a decision to adopt the project and construction technique, certify the final EIR, adopt findings and mitigation measures, and file a Notice of Determination. At this Board of Directors hearing, the public will have a final opportunity to provide input into the process. As I previously mentioned, we are in the early stages of the EIR process. The Water Authority has developed a project description and is identifying, or CEQA refers to it scoping, the environmental issues to be addressed. No environmental analysis has been conducted yet. The scoping meeting and NOP period which is April 12th through May 13th, provide the public and government agencies an opportunity to provide input as to which environmental issues need to be covered in the EIR, what alternatives and mitigation measures may be useful, and which topics do not require further analysis. CEQA requires that specific environmental topics be reviewed for potential impacts on the environment. A list of those topics is included on this slide. Those that are written in blue were identified during a preliminary review to have the potential for a significant impact and require further technical analysis within the EIR. Your input, however, may reflect a necessity to further evaluate one or more of the other environmental topics written here in black. We would also like to remind you that the EIR will focus on physical impacts to the environment. So providing comments in the context of the physical impact it may have on the environment would be the most helpful to the composition of and the analysis within the EIR. There are several ways to provide us with comments on what should be analyzed within the EIR. However, it is important to note that these comments must be provided in writing. Here are the 3 ways you can provide us with your comments. First, submit a comment form here tonight. Second, email amuto@reconenvironmental.com, or 3, mail comments to Alyssa Muto, Project Manager, Recon Environmental, 1927 5th Avenue, San Diego, California 92101. Comments on the NOP must be received by May 13th. The Water Authority will be updating the project website as the environmental process continues. This can be viewed online at www.sdcwa.org/knob-hill-pipeline-improvements. After receiving public comments, we will prepare the draft EIR. As previously mentioned, the next opportunity to become involved with the project is when the draft EIR is released for public review, which is anticipated in late November of this year. Thank you for coming and taking time out of your evening to join us here tonight to learn about the Nob Hill Pipeline Improvements Project.